Welcome back. Today we will show you how to build React Firebase chat web applications using React hooks. These applications using Firebase real-time database. So, if not necessary to use additional real-time engines such as Socket.io. This tutorial divided into several steps. Step number 1. Set up Firebase real-time database. Step number 2. Create React.js app. Step number 3. Install and configure the required modules. Step number 4. Add React Router DOM. Step number 5. Implementing login. Step number 6. Implementing room list and add room. Step number 7. Implementing chat room. Step number 8. Run and test React.js Firebase chat web app. The flow is very simple as described in this diagram. The first entry of this React.js application is the login page. In the login page, it will check if the nickname exists in the local storage. If the nickname exists, it will go to the room list directly, and if not exists, it will stay on the login page to enter the nickname in the login form. The request from the login form will compare with the user documents in the Firebase real-time database. If the nickname exists in the Firebase document, then it will go to the room list and set the nickname to the local storage. If the nickname does not exist in the Firebase, then it will save the nickname first to the user's documents before going to the room list and set to the local storage. The room list contains a list of the chat room, current user nickname, add the room button, and a logout button. The add button actions will go to the add room form, then compare the submitted room name to the Firebase real-time database document. If the room name exists, it will return an alert, and if not exists, it will shift a new room name to the Firebase document. The new room will automatically appear in the room list. The logout button actions will log out and exit the room list by removing the nickname from the local storage and redirect the page to the login page. Each room item in the room list has an action to go to the chat room. In the chat room, there is a chat box that contains the message, a message form, the online users list, and an exit button that has the actions to go back to the room list. The following tools, frameworks, libraries, and modules are required for this tutorial: Node.js and Yarn or NPM, Create React App CLI, React Strap, Firebase module, Firebase real-time database, Terminal on Mac or Linux, or Node command line on Windows, IDE or text editor. We are using Visual Studio Code. Let's get started to the main steps. Step number 1. Set up Firebase real-time database. We will set up or create a new Google Firebase project that can use the real-time database. Just open your browser, then go to Google Firebase console, and you will take to this page. For this page, click the Create Projects button to create Google Firebase projects, then it will be redirected to this page. Just fill your project's name. After filling the project's name, text field, which our project's name is React Chat, and select your parent resources to your domains. Ours is jamware.com. Then click the Continue button, and it will redirect to this page. This time, choose to not add the Enable Google Analytics for these projects. Then click the Create Projects button. Now we have a Google Firebase project ready to use. After clicking the Continue button, it will be redirected to this page. Choose the Database menu on the left pane. Then click the Create Database button. Select Start in Test Mode, then click the Next, and it will go to the next dialog. Select the Firebase database server locations, then click the Done button. Don't forget to select or change Cloud Firestore dropdown to Real-Time Database. Next, go to the Rules tab and you will see these rules values. Change it to readable and writable from everywhere for this tutorial only. Click the Publish button to update or save the changes. Now the Google Firebase real-time database is ready to use with your React.js web app. Step number 2. Create React.js app. To create a new React.js applications, we will use the Create React App tool. The Create React App tool is a tool to create a React.js app from the command line or CLI. So you don't need to install or configure tools like Webpack or Babel because they are pre-configured and hidden so that you can focus on the code. Tap these commands to install it. Now we can create a new React.js app using that CLI tool. This command will create a new React app with the name React Chat, and this process can take minutes because all dependencies and modules also installing automatically. Next, go to the newly created app folder. Open these projects in your IDE or text editor and see the contents of package.json. This React versions is the versions that already uses React hooks as default. Now, src app.js doesn't use class anymore. For sanitations, run this React app for the first time by type these commands. And here we go, the latest React.js applications that uses React hooks with the same initial homepage. Step number 3. Install and configure the required modules. We use the Firebase module to access the Firebase real-time database and React Stripe to use Bootstrap within React.js. The Firebase module is available as an npm module. Also, we need an additional library for scrolling to the bottom of the chat box using React Scroll to Bottom and formatting dates using Moment.js. For that, type these commands to install the modules. Next, create a new file Firebase.js in the root of the project folder for Firebase configuration. In this Firebase.js file, add the codes like this. You can find the project's ID and API key in the Firebase console under Settings, Project Settings, and here they are. For database URL, go to the Service Codes tab and you will see database URL in admin SDK of Node.js. There are no configurations for other libraries or modules. Just use them in the React.js components later. Step number 4. Add React Router DOM. As we mentioned in the application flow, there are few pages required: login, room list, add room, and chat room pages. For that, add those components first by typing these commands. Next, open and edit src index.js, then add or replace these imports. Next, replace the React DOM render with this. As you can see, we are replacing the previous render to the browser router because we will use separate router for this application. Next, open and edit src.js, then replace all imports with this. We will use all these imports of browser router, switch, route, redirect, use locations from the React Router DOM, and all required components that previously created for building the React Router. Just modify the app functions to add the React Router that mapping to those imported React components with default landing page redirect to room list component. As you see, in this React Router, there are a secure routes tag, which means the routes for those components might pass the filter for security. Add these functions of secure routes to filter the login users only that can enter those components. Otherwise, it will redirect to the login page. Step number 5. Implementing login. The login components will contain the form with an input, text, and submit button. The data from the form will be submitted to the Firebase real-time database by check the existing nickname first, then save to the Firebase if there's no match nickname found. Open and edit src components login.js, then add these imports. Add the main functions after the imports. Declare the variables for the required form fields, loading spinner trigger, history, and Firebase database references. Add the functions to handle the inputs value changes. Add the functions to submit the data to the Firebase real-time database. Next, render the view of the login page by adding these returns that contains HTML tags with React components. Step number 6. Implementing room list and add room. Now we will implement a room list that contains a list of the chat rooms and add room button, logout button, and logged in user information. Open and edit src components, room.js, then edit required imports. Add the main functions after the imports. Insert the main functions, declare all required variables. Load the room list from the Firebase real-time database inside the useEffect function. In these functions, the response from the Firebase needs to extract to the array of objects by using snapshot to array functions. For that, add this function. Add functions to enter the chat room while sending the data that contains enter room status to the Firebase database. Add the functions to log out from the chat application. Add a view for this component. Next, to add a new room, open and edit src components add room.js. Then add these imports. Add the main functions for this component. Declare the required variable inside the main functions body. Add the functions to save the room data to the Firebase real-time database. Add the functions to handle the input value changes. Add a view for this add room form. Step number 7. Implementing chat room. The chat room implementations will contain chat box, a list of online users, and message form. Open and edit src components chatroom.js, then add these required imports. Add the main functions after the imports. Add the required variables inside the main functions body. Add the useEffect functions that loads the chat data from the Firebase real-time database. Add again the useEffect functions that loads the user data from the Firebase real-time database. Add the functions that extract the Firebase response to the array of objects. Add the functions that submits a new message from the message form to the Firebase database. Add the functions that handles the input changes. Add the functions to exit the chat room while sending status data to the Firebase. Add a view for this chat room. On that chat room view, we use a lot of CSS classes to build a proper chat box. For that, add a CSS file, rc style CSS, then add these lines of CSS codes. This CSS file already imported in the chatroom.js. Step number 8. Run and test React.js Firebase Chat Web App. To run this React.js Firebase Chat Web App, type these commands in a terminal or CMD at the root of this project's folder. The browser will open automatically and go to the localhost 3000. You can test this chat activity by opening different browsers or different computers and then go to the same address. That is the React.js tutorial building Firebase chat app using React hooks. You can get the full article and source code link in the descriptions below. Thank you.